Alara had always lived within the walls of Sanctuary. The massive stone barriers loomed over the city, their tops lost in the perpetual mist that shrouded the sky. As far as she knew, everyone in the world lived like this, safe behind impenetrable walls, protected from the unknowable dangers that lurked beyond. She'd grown up hearing vague warnings about the outside world. The elders spoke in hushed tones of a time when humanity faced extinction, saved only by the constructions of places like Sanctuary. Now, generations later, life inside the walls was all anyone knew. Alara worked as a stonemason, repairing cracks and weak points in the city's defenses. It was a prestigious job, vital to their survival. Today, she was inspecting a section near their southern gate when she noticed something odd, a hairline fracture that seemed to whisper. Frowning, she leaned in closer, her fingers tracing the unusual fissure. The stone felt cool, almost unnaturally so. As she pressed against it, she could have sworn she heard a faint, distant sound, like a sigh, or perhaps a word she couldn't quite make out. Startled, Alara stepped back. She glanced around, but none of the other workers seemed to have noticed anything amiss. Shaking her head, she returned to her inspection, convinced she had imagined it. But as the days passed, Alara found herself drawn back to that section of the wall. Each time the whispers seemed a little louder, a little clearer, yet she could never quite grasp their meaning. She began to notice other oddities. The mist that perpetually cloaked the top of the wall seemed to be descending, inch by inch, day by day. Birds that once nested in the upper reaches of the city had fallen silent, and at night, when she pressed her ear to the cool stone of her bedroom wall, she could hear a rhythm that reminded her of a giant sleeping heartbeat. Alara tried to speak to others about her observations, but they dismissed her concerns. "The walls keep us safe," they'd say, their eyes glazing over slightly. "Why question what protects us?" But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She began to spend her free time in the city's ancient library, poring over old texts and faded maps. What she found, or rather, what she didn't find, chilled her to the bone. There were no records of the world before Sanctuary, no explanations of what they were being protected from. It was as if history itself began with the raising of the walls. As weeks turned into months, the changes became harder to ignore. The mist now reached the upper windows of the tallest buildings. People reported feeling watched, even in the privacy of their homes, and the whispers, once audible only to Alara, now echoed through the streets at night, driving some to madness. The day the sun failed to rise, panic finally took hold. Alara watched from a window as people flooded the streets, their screams of terror mixing with the ever-present whispers. The mist continued its relentless descent, swallowing entire buildings. In the chaos, Alara made her way to the city gate. For the first time in living memory, it stood unguarded. With trembling hands, she pushed against its ancient surface. To her surprise, it swung open easily, as if it had been waiting for this moment. Beyond the threshold lay nothing. No monsters, no wasteland, no horrors. Just an empty expanse of white mist, indistinguishable from what now filled Sanctuary streets. Alara stood at the precipice, the whispers growing to a fever pitch around her. "Stay," they seemed to say. "Stay safe. Stay with us." She took a deep breath, the air thick with possibilities and terror. Then, with one foot raised over the threshold, Alara made her choice. The mist swallowed her whole, leaving only silence in its wake.